Hi, Carissa. Let's take a look at your new set of essays, Pollution, the reasons and solutions for it. Pollution is a problem in many urban areas. This is due to an increase in traffic and improper housing. However, there are a number of measures that can be implemented to resolve this issue. Lovely. Two major causes of pollution are carbon emissions from vehicles and inadequate housing in cities. One of the causes of air pollution is the emissions of extremely harmful carbon monoxide from vehicles run by fossil fuels such as petrol and diesel. Since most people travel to urban spaces for work or shopping, there is a lot of traffic, and as a result, air pollution levels are much higher in cities as compared to rural areas. Another reason is poor housing, which is much more common in cities. Industrial buildings, shopping malls, and corporate offices are located in major urban spaces. This means there is very little area left for housing complexes, and as a result, there's no proper drainage system and a lack of safe waste disposal measures in cities that trigger, because you have two things, system and disposal measures that trigger the pollution levels. Okay. All right. So this was good. You could see that I really didn't correct anything in terms of grammar. I will tell you one thing that I want to correct. I wasn't really a huge fan of this. Okay. And the reason why I wasn't a huge fan of it is because you basically wrote the exact same thing. Well, kind of. You wrote something really, really similar in the next sentence. Okay. So I would have preferred a different topic sentence here for this paragraph. Your topic sentence needs to present the central idea of the paragraph. And what is the central idea here? That there are a couple of reasons behind pollution in cities. So what you want to do though is you want to keep from repeating yourself, right? So you said here pollution is a major problem in cities. This is due to an increase in traffic and improper housing. Fine. So how can we have a topic sentence that doesn't repeat this and that doesn't repeat the same language that you actually develop in the paragraph? Well, let's see. You could use some different vocabulary, okay? Or you can, let's see. Let me think about how you could do this. Why don't we try this? Numerous causes have been linked to the increase in pollution in cities. However, two can be considered as the most responsible. One of these causes is air pollution. One of the causes of air pollution is the emission of extremely harmful. Okay, so you see that what I basically did is I gave you an introduction to the paragraph. I told you a lot of causes have been considered, but two are the biggest culprits, or two are the most responsible for this issue. And then you say, one of the causes of air pollution is this. So it's a nice way to introduce your paragraph because that's what the topic sentence is really supposed to do. It's supposed to introduce the theme of the paragraph. It's supposed to introduce the central idea without necessarily giving away the details of what you're going to talk about later on. Okay? Because if you left it the way it was, you would already have said increase in traffic, improper housing, carbon emissions from cars, and inadequate housing. And then you say it again later. So it just becomes a little repetitious. So keep your topic sentence to something that basically says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about what the causes of pollution are in this paragraph. But you don't necessarily have to name them in that sentence, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, where was I? All right. Okay, the rest of it I thought was great. I thought it was done nicely. However, there are a number of ways to lower the pollution levels in urban dwellings. Here you did it perfectly. You see, you didn't tell me what those ways are. You just told me that there are a number of ways. So it's exactly what I'd like to see in the paragraph that talks about the problems as well, or the reasons. Firstly, fossil fuels could be replaced by renewable sources of energy. Take Delhi, for example. It was one of the most polluted cities in India, where the pollution levels had crossed the safety limits. However, the pollution levels have decreased drastically with the replacement of fossil fuels with natural gas. The best way to tackle pollution in cities, however, would be to enforce strict laws in terms of the construction of houses. Governments could take draconian measures in the approval of the construction of a house or building. This would ensure that houses are constructed as where was I? The houses are constructed as per the approved plan, which would ensure a proper drainage system and prevent widespread flooding during monsoons. Lovely. I like that. I think that's nice. It's good. I mean, it's very clear. I thought the development was very nice. It definitely feels very point by point by point, well linked. So I don't have any issues with that. I thought you did a nice job. In conclusion, the harmful release of gases from vehicles and the poor housing both lead to increased pollution cities. Only when governments are able to ensure that the housing plan is adequate and combustible sources of energy are replaced will the situation be remedied. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Beautiful piece of grammar here. Love that you used inversion. It's super effective. It's a great way to provide emphasis, and I love that you did it correctly. So for me, this is a really good essay. It's very strong. So I'm quite happy with it, Carissa. Okay? Nice job here. So let's take a look at your task 1. We've got the cars, right? Try to put the image. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you did it in your attachment. I didn't look. All right, but definitely try to include the image because I definitely refer to them, okay? Let's see. The bar, it's not called a bar graph, it's called a bar chart. We call them line graphs, but bar charts. So the bar chart compares the sales of 3 different brands of cars in a number of European countries in 2018. I'm going to give you a hint here. What you want to do, okay, you only had 3, so for sure you're going to mention them. But when you say a number of European countries, do yourself a favor, put the names of the countries in parentheses right here. Because this essay has 9, okay? And if you want to get above a band 4 for task achievement, you have to mention the names of them. You don't have to talk about all of them, but you have to at least mention them by name so that we know what the categories are. Okay? This is the easiest way to do it. So just get in the habit. When it says a number of European countries, put them in parentheses right here. Overall, it is clearly seen that the sales of BMW dominated the market share in all European countries, with the exception of Belgium. As a result, cars sold in Belgium were the least. Not as a result. That's not true at all. I mean, they could have sold a ton of Ford. So don't use as a result here. Okay? However, while Hungary experienced the highest amount of car sales, those in Ireland and Holland missed. Okay, there's no remaining stable here because there's no movement, there's no increase, there's no decrease, so it's inappropriate to use the expression remain stable. So let me tell you what I would have done here. I would have said overall it is clear that BMWs dominated the market share in all the European countries, and Hungary sold the most cars. Done. That's it. Okay? You don't need to go into all this detail. Let's continue. Hungary had the highest number of cars sold in 2018 with an equal amount of Ford, Audi, and BMW cars sold. No, it's not 120, it's 120,000. Okay? That's what those 3 zeros mean. However, a minimum number of car sales was seen in Belgium, with Ford's contribution at just under 100,000, BMW and Audi constituting less than 10 each, or 10 together. You have to be clear about that. Equal amounts of cars were sold in Ireland and Holland, with BMW and Ford constituting the most sales respectively. Okay. In contrast, Italy saw an equal number of Ford and Audi sales, and BMW comprised just over 100,000. Okay. However, in Poland, Audi and BMW sales were equal, approximately 90 each. Likewise, Germany had nearly the same number of cars of Audi and BMW. In France, the number of BMWs sold. All right, there's no figures here. I mean, not for some of them at least. You've got figures here, you've got figures here. It's like when Audi was reversed. Okay, so your grammar is fine, Carissa, but I'm having a really hard time with the way you organize this. In other words, I don't understand how you paragraphed and why you selected to put the information you did in the paragraphs that you did. Okay, so what precisely have you told me here? Equal amount. Yeah, I don't understand the way you've divided this information. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to do this. Okay, so I found the image and I want to tell you how I would go about doing this. One thing I would do is I would spend a paragraph talking about the total sales. I think that's important. Why is it important? Because it's a stacked bar chart, and that's the reason why they've done it in this fashion. They want you to talk about the totals. The totals are very important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be stacked. You would have the three countries next to the three car brands next to each other. So it's stacked because they are concerned about the total and then what went into making that total. So my paragraph would be something like this. Hungary had sold the most cars at nearly 400,000. It was followed by approximately 100,000 less in France. The fewest cars sold were in Belgium at just under 100,000, followed by Italy with around 120,000. The remaining countries, and if you haven't named them so far, you can name them here, all sold between 200 and 270,000 cars. Okay? Then you go into the car brands in a separate paragraph. BMW sold the most cars throughout the region. It sold approximately 100,000 in all countries, except for Belgium, where it sold a minimal amount. We don't even know what the number is, like 5,000. Okay. And then you can talk about Ford. You can say Ford sold roughly 130,000 in both Hungary and Holland. And the fewest cars in Germany and Italy at approximately 20,000. And then guess what? You don't even have to mention the rest because you know that the remaining countries are somewhere between 20,000 and 130,000. Okay? Then you can talk about Audi in a very similar fashion. Audi was very popular in Germany and Hungary at approximately 130,000 as well, and sold a minimum amount in Belgium and slightly more in the UK and Italy. And then you're really done. Okay, so remember that when you're describing this information, you want to describe it in such a way and organize it in such a way that the person reading it can visualize what you're looking at least roughly to some degree. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about when you do these task ones. So careful about how you divide your information. Is it clear and are you painting a picture for the person reading it? Okay, you don't want to include too much information that's going to bog the person down with details. You also want to select some key information to talk about. All right, looking forward to your next set. Good luck to you.